Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Heritage. And today we are going to Czechia, where we're looking at Litomyšl Castle. I know I butchered that, but it's a Renaissance arcade-style castle that was adopted and brought to Czechia.
What kind of games they got?
Yeah, so this is an Italian castle, or I should say, style of castle that became popular in Central Europe during the 16th century. And this particular instance had a number of high Baroque features added in the 18th century. Basically, it got expanded upon 200 years after it was built.
Nice.
And this particular one, I believe, was meant to stand on the border of Bohemia and Moravia, which are the two regions that now make up Czechia. Weren't always unified, didn't always get along.
Now, Brotherhood of Czechia.
Brotherhood of Czechia.
It is kind of interesting. Like, this is such a unique design, and I know the bricks are intricately carved, but they almost give it this, like, fake facade look. And the bricks on the edge of it, you could see the Italian archways and, you know, the terracotta, like, roofing almost, the shingles, but I still can't get over the brickwork. Like, that brickwork does not look real.
No.
Oh, the inside courtyard. Oh, that's beautiful with all the arches.
Yeah, it is. It is very ornate. It is. Italian fortifications were more about making an art statement than they were about actually keeping you alive.
They can't kill us if we're fabulous.
Yeah.
Gear.
Fabulous.
And that mentality has led to, among a lot of the sort of ancillary buildings that have survived with this site. There is also the residence of one of the aristocrats, one of the big aristocratic guest houses that would have had the local nobility residing in them, because you don't live in the castle, you live in the fancy villa next to the castle. Standards, darling.
Well, that castle is just so cliche. I mean, who lives in something so gaudy?
Yeah.
My 6,000 square foot villa is a lot less gaudy.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting and ornate structure, and it was originally built in 1568 under the supervision of Jan Baptista Evolis, Giovanni Battista Stali.
So yeah, basically they have his name in what he would have been known to the people in Czechia, and then his name of in Italian, which is probably where he was from.
Ah. And most of the work had been completed by 1580, so, under 12 years. And the castle interior underwent alterations between 1792 and 1796 based on the designs of Jan Christoph Habich, but he was careful to preserve the fine building's Renaissance appearance with impressive gables. So that's actually kind of cool that a 1790s architect and designer was trying to be mindful and careful with history.
Yeah.
You gotta respect it.
Yeah, he wanted to work with what he had rather than tear it down for his own vision.
And the castle itself is a four-winged, three-story structure with asymmetrical disposition. The western wing is the largest, where the southern wing is a two-story arcaded gallery. And closing the second square courtyard, a feature unique to Litomyšl, the groin vaulted arcading continues western and eastern side of the courtyards. So it's just very ornate and very unique on each side. And then the interior castle consists is a neoclassical theater from the 1796 western wing. And they kept all the original painting, the stage decorations and machinery is still intact. The house is richly decorated, effectively in Renaissance form, and lavish in late Baroque or neoclassical ornamentation. So kind of cool, very interesting.
Yeah, and one of the fun things too with this is, there's all this wonderful art and, a literal theater in the castle with all these things. Do you know who else is born in this castle?
Bedrich Smetana.
Yep. Basically, this guy is a composer. He does a lot of music, and he is kind of considered the greatest Czech composer to ever live. And he was born in the brewery of the castle with its own private theater.
The brewery.
He was born in the brewery. He was not a rich man.
I mean, where it happens, it happens. But he's also known as one of the greatest Czech composers of all times. And the courtyard was remodeled by famous architect František Maximilian Kanka after the 1728 fire, and received what is present currently. And that includes a formal French garden and a saletta, which is a pavilion in the Baroque style. So there's a lot of mixes of culture, and one of the things that highlights is that a lot of the ancillary buildings were rebuilt or adjusted as time went on to serve the purposes of the castle and are representative of that. So it's kind of cool seeing this living history, even though the castle's been pretty well preserved. And that is one of the keys with the integrity, is that it maintains a lot of its originality. But
you see the evolution not only of the original Italian architectural style that was getting imported into Czechia, but then you also see the evolution of all these other additions. You know, the French pavilions. There's an English style park, the Baroque theater. As things get added on, it evolves the architectural style within itself.
And this listing with UNESCO is pretty cool because they actually do very much highlight that and very much emphasize that at this specific site in this castle, they very much use it as an evolving history. They no longer see it as just a singular time period. They show the evolution and the continuation, and they show how each is a contributing aspect to this overarching whole. And I think that's a pretty unique way to look at it, because I think a lot of times historic properties look at their heyday, so to speak.
Yeah.
And because of that, the authenticity of this property is really high because it's maintained pretty much everything. It shows that the modifications and conservation work has been respected. They have, again, they don't really choose a specific, but they show off the organic display. And the property is protected under a specific act on the State Heritage Preservation and is designated a National Cultural Heritage Site and enjoys the highest degree of legal protection. And the buffer zone is the historic center of the town, which is designated as an urban heritage reservation and has protected zone itself. So there is protection on the territory, property, and a buffer zone.
Yep. And
that's impressive.
And my personal favorite with the authenticity on this one is since the year 2000, they have done something which is called annual reporting, where every year they write up a report on how things are going, what needed to be changed, what happened, you know, for the Ministry of Culture, for the National Heritage Institute, and for UNESCO, so that there is a year-by-year record of how things are going at the site, which honestly doesn't happen very often. Most of the time, a preservation plan, like a 5 or 10-year plan, is proposed, debated, and implemented, and it's only until the end of those 5 years or 10 years, however long it is, that the site is then reassessed and another report is filed. So this idea of just constantly checking up on the site is something we don't see very often. That just gets me with like the record keeping involved in this.
And they also share management between the National Heritage Institute and the city itself, which the city is responsible for maintenance, protection, and promotion of the property, whereas they are actually also working on a management plan to basically throw out a roadmap to the future of what they're going to be working on and fixing in the future. But yeah, this is a really cool, interesting site, and it kind of ties into the podcast that we did a couple of days ago where we talked about the Hussites in Jan Hus. So kind of a cool little tie-in to a podcast episode. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.